ओम नमः श्री यतिराजाय विवेकानंद सूरये सच्चित् सुखद स्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे. Welcome to Jnana Yoga. In this 14th chapter of Jnana Yoga, titled The Atman, which is a lecture delivered by Swami Vivekananda in New York, though it is mentioned in complete works as just United States, it was most definitely delivered in New York. Swamiji begins the lecture with the idea that India has always enjoyed the freedom of thought. He says that from ancient times, India always had freedom of thought, of religion, of sect. And even now, many new philosophies and sects continue to come up in India. The religious activity of that nation, that is India, is simply inexhaustible. The many sects in India can be grouped in two divisions. One is orthodox, that is those who believe that Vedas are eternal revelations of truth, and heterodox, those who reject authority of Veda, that is mainly Buddhism and Jainism. To quote Swamiji's words, of the three orthodox divisions, the Sankhyas and Naiyayikas and the Mimamsakas, the former two, although they existed as philosophical schools, failed to form any sect. The one sect that now really covers India is that of the latter Mimamsakas, or the Vedantists. Their philosophy is called Vedantism. All the schools of Hindu philosophy start from the Vedanta or Upanishads. But the Monists took the name to themselves as a speciality, because they wanted to base the whole of their theology and philosophy upon the Vedanta and nothing else. In the course of time, Vedanta prevailed, and all the various sects of India that now exist can be referred to one or other of its schools. Yet these schools are not unanimous in their opinion. Then Swamiji gives the points on which the various sects in Vedanta agree. The points on which the various sects within Vedantists agree are God, Vedas, and the cyclic nature of the universe. Regarding Vedas, they consider that it is the revealed word of God. But unlike Islam and Christianity, the Hindus consider that the Vedas are eternally existing with the eternal God. It is not like that God gave those words and that is like final and compulsory for everything. It is the eternal spiritual reality and eternal spiritual words that is meant by Vedas. So all the sects agree on this point. And then they explain how this manifestation of names and forms and various forces appear and merge back again into the truth. At the beginning of cosmic cycle, Akasha, the universal substance, is transformed into all the forms of the universe. And Prana, the supreme force or vibrations, becomes all the forces of the universe. And at the end of the cosmic cycle, all forces resolve into Prana and all forms become finer and finer and resolve into Akash. After some time, the cycle repeats. So it is a cyclic nature of the entire cosmos. All the forms and all the forces become gross and then again fine. As to the main variations within the sects of Vedantis, there are three, namely dualist, qualified non-dualist, and non-dualist, that is the Advaitists. Dualists say God is eternally separate from nature and souls, though God, souls, and nature are all eternal. Swamiji says that vast majority of humanity is necessarily dualist, as they can think only in concrete sense perceived way and not in a subtle abstract way. In his exact words, we find that 90% of the population of the earth who believe in any religion are dualists. All the religions of Europe and Western Asia are dualistic. They have to be. The ordinary man cannot think of anything which is not concrete. He naturally likes to cling to that which his intellect can grasp. That is to say, he can only conceive of higher spiritual ideas by bringing them down to his own level. He can only grasp abstract thoughts by making them concrete. This is the religion of the masses all over the world. They believe in a God who is entirely separate from them, a great king, a high, mighty monarch, as it were. At the same time, they make him purer than the monarchs of the earth. They give him all the good qualities and remove all the evil qualities from him. Then further elaborating on the dualists, Swamiji says that Indian dualists never developed the idea of devil to explain the evil in the world. In Abrahamic religions, we find this division of good and evil, and the evil observed in the world is explained that it is due to the devil. But that was never in India. Neither dualist nor other sects propounded that weird idea. Neither they blame God for the evil in the world. They clearly, almost all Indian systems clearly say that it is the human beings with their thoughts and action that produces evil. It is the karma, good and bad karma of human beings that is responsible for the evil, not some entity called devil. These dualists also say that each soul will attain liberation, that is freedom from the birth and death in various higher and lower bodies. Dualists believe there is a special place beyond the universe where liberated soul remains eternally with God, though separate from Him. Being dualist, they consider the soul to be eternally separate from God. Though they say that liberation is possible, and in that liberation there is a special place where the soul remains and does not take bodies and does not transmigrate. Another point Swamiji highlights is the dualists also are vegetarians because they consider all life as belonging to God and killing is an evil action. Here Swamiji also makes a distinction between why a Buddhist is a vegetarian and why the dualist is a vegetarian. So this dualist idea is that nothing belongs to souls or nature, it belongs to God. Another point that the dualists highlight is that God should be prayed only for liberation and not for material things. That is the spiritual dimension, because here we are dealing with the dualistic, qualified non-dualistic and non-dualistic approach to God realization. Then after the dualist comes the qualified non-dualist. They say that God is both material and efficient cause of the universe. That is, God is the soul and nature and souls are God's body. Changes in body do not affect the soul. So all the changes in nature and journeys of souls into bodies do not affect God. They are slightly better than dualists in the sense they say that souls contract after evil acts and expand after good acts. So if by good acts and selflessness the souls can expand and they can have multitude of qualities except the omniscience, omnipotence and omnipresence which belong to God. And when the soul become perfect, they live with God forever. At the end of cosmic cycle, his body, that is God's body, contracts and becomes finer, and at the start of the cycle it expands and manifests again. So the dualists are saying that the soul ever remains separate from God, but qualified non-dualists say that it is a part of God and it expands by good actions and almost attains to God. But still they are slightly away from the final position, that is of Advaita. Finally comes the Advaitism, that is the non-dualism. Swamiji says it is the most subtle and profound thought. Even most thoughtful humans find it difficult to understand. In the words of Swamiji, very few men ask for the truth. Fewer dare to learn the truth, and fewest of all dare to follow it in all its practical bearings. It is not their fault. It is all weakness of the brain. Any new thought, especially of a high kind, creates a disturbance, tries to make a new channel as it were in the brain matter, and that unhinges the system, throws men off their balance. They are used to certain surroundings and have to overcome a huge mass of ancient superstitions, ancestral superstition, class superstition, city superstition, country superstition, and behind all the vast mass of superstition that is innate in every human being. Yet there are a few brave souls in the world who dare to conceive the truth, who dare to take it up, and who dare to follow it to the end. This Advaita says that there is one infinite existence which appears as God, nature, and souls, but always remains unchanged. In the words of Swamiji, the self, the Atman, is by its own nature pure. It is the same, the one existence of the universe that is reflecting itself from the lowest worm to the highest and most perfect being. The whole of this universe is one unity, one existence, physically, mentally, morally, and spiritually. We are looking upon this one existence in different forms and creating all these images upon it. So all manifestation, including all spheres of existence and all source, are just the vain imaginations in this one infinite existence, Atman, the self of human being. And here comes the final glory of Advaita, that is, I am that. No longer there is a distinction between the soul and the supreme reality. It is the finest point, that is, the soul realizes that I am that infinite consciousness. Swamiji says, no books, no scriptures, no science can ever imagine the glory of the self that appears as a man, the most glorious God that ever was, the only God that ever existed, exists, or ever will exist. I am to worship, therefore, none but myself. I worship myself, says the Advaitist. It is a very bold statement, but it is the ultimate fact. Advaita is the last word of the Vedas. Swami says it begins with dualism, goes through a qualified monism, and ends in perfect monism. Finally, he concludes this wonderful lecture on the Atman as society exists at the present time, all these three stages are necessary. The one does not deny the other. One is simply the fulfillment of the other. The Advaitist or the qualified Advaitist does not say that dualism is wrong. It is the right view, but a lower one. It is on the way to truth. Therefore, let everybody work out his own vision of this universe according to his own ideas. Injure none. Deny the position of none. Take man where he stands, and if you can, lend him a helping hand and put him on a higher platform, but do not injure and do not destroy. Thus, in this lecture, Swamiji briefly highlights the three schools of thought in Vedanta: Dvaita, Vishishstadvaita, and Advaita, that is dualism, qualified non-dualism, and non-dualism. And the final non-dualism, the glory of non-dualism is that the soul realizes, I am that infinite reality. Next lecture, Swamiji will elaborate on the bondage and freedom of the Atman. It is titled The Atman, Its Bondage and Freedom. Om Tat Sat.